We're coming in for a landing, okay? I don't know if it's going to be a hard landing, a soft landing, or no landing whatsoever. But the only caution I put in all of that is part of the reason that's all true, and we talk about American exceptionalism, is we borrowed and spent $10 trillion in the last couple of years. So during COVID, we gave a lot of money out. I think they did the right stuff to move early and quick, but I think it was clearly overdone, which led to the inflation and things like that. But it's still that way, and now the deficit's 7%, which is the largest peacetime deficit we ever had, is $2 trillion. What I just said is true around the world, my concern is inflation, in my view, may not go away so quickly, okay? And so you might go into next year, 2026, where it starts ticking up a little bit like it did in the 70s. Because the Fed always says it's data dependent. Well, of course they have to be data dependent. Can you imagine them saying, we don't care what the data says? But the short-term data is deceptive. And so when you say dependent, I think we overreact to short-term data. But there's also future data. Doesn't exist yet, but you can predict it. Like huge fiscal spending, the remilitarization of the world, which is inflationary, demographics is inflationary, the green economy is inflationary, the restructuring of trade is inflationary. So I see a lot of inflationary things in front of us. They haven't all happened yet, but they're going to happen, and I think they will probably have an inflationary effect. So in the back of my mind, we're prepared for that. I don't think it's a big deal if it's 3.5%, the 10-year bond goes to 5 or 5.5. I think it becomes a big deal if it goes much more than that, and people are caught off guard and credit spreads start to gap out. And it's only a really big deal if we have stagflation, i.e. a recession with inflation. And I would not rule that out. I'm not talking about next year. I'm not making a forecast. But in terms of managing our exposures, all of us, I'd be thinking about that a little bit too.